Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. We are going to get right down in it today. We are in section 3.5. We are solving two-step equations. Get excited, guys. Not just one-step equations. We are solving two-step equations. You guys are going to feel so cool at the end of this lesson because you know how to solve two-step equations. So, before, we've seen something like this. We've seen something like 2x equals 12. And our goal, right, has been to solve for x. And to solve for x, we need to get x on its own side of the equal sign. So what's happening to x right now? 2 and the x. They're being multiplied, right? You can think of a little multiplication sign in between there. 2 is being multiplied by x. So we want to find what number do we multiply by 2 to get 12. So, we divide. Because to get x by itself, you need to do the opposite of what is happening next to x. So you divide, because the opposite of multiplication is division. And then what you do to one side of the equal sign, because it's equal, right, you have to do it to the other. So we divide by 12, and we know that x is equal to 6. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Or we've had something like x plus 4 equals 10. And what's happening to this x? Sorry if this is really small for you guys. What's happening to this x? 4 is being added to it. See that? X plus 4. 4 is being added to this x. So to get x by itself, we need to do the opposite of what is happening to x, and x is being added by 4. So it's the opposite of addition. Subtraction. Subtract 4. What you do to one side of the equal sign, you do to the other. Subtract 4. Oh, I did that on accident, but 6 again equals x. Okay, so now, though, we are going to be doing 2 steps. It is going to take you 2 steps to solve your equations. So, let's say you were given something like this. 2x plus 4 equals 12. 2x plus 4 equals 12. And you're told, solve for x. That's what your directions tell you. You're solving for the variable. So how do we solve for the variable? Well, there are a few key things. Just like always, your first step is to isolate your variable. Isolate your variable. What does it mean to isolate your variable? When you isolate something, what do? You get it by itself. Yep, you get it by itself. So we want to get x by itself. There are a lot of things happening on this left side of the equal sign right here. There are a few things happening, right? We see that x is being multiplied by 2. We also see that 2x is being added by 4. So x is being multiplied by 2. X is also being added by 4. Now, the first thing that you need to do is you need to isolate your x. You need to get x by itself. So what you first do, you first need to undo any addition or subtraction. You do work opposite of order of operations. So you're going to start with your addition and subtraction actually. You might think that your first step is to divide by 2, but we can't divide by 2 yet. The first thing that we need to do to get x by itself is actually subtract by 4. We need to subtract 4. So what's 12 subtract 4? It's 8 equals 2x. Because now our x is by itself. See, right now x is being added to 4. X isn't on its own side of the equal sign yet because it has another term next to it. So the first thing that we need to do to get x by itself is we need to undo any addition or subtraction that is happening on the same side of the equal sign as the x. And so we subtract 4, 2x equals 8. And now we can solve. Now it looks like something we've been doing this whole week with solving a one-step equation by multiplication and division. So now we see that 2 is being multiplied by x. Divide by 2 to cancel those out. Divide by 2. X equals 4. Now 7th and 8th graders. Okay, so my third step would be to undo any multiplication or division. My third step is to undo any multiplication or division. And so I can plug this back in to make sure I'm correct. So I have 2 times 4 plus 4 equals 12. 2 times 4 plus 4 equals 12. So what's 2 times 4 is 8. Plus 4 equals 12. 8 plus 4 is 12. Does 12 equal 12? Yep, we're good to go. We solved it correctly. Let's look at another problem, huh? -6 plus 2x equals -10. -6 plus 2x equals -10. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to isolate my variable. So at first, to isolate my variable, I need to figure out what my variable is, right? Can't isolate what you don't know what it is. So what's my variable? My variable is x. My variable is being multiplied by 2. So I want to, right now, get that whole term, 2x, by itself. So what's happening around 2x that I need to undo to get it by itself? Well, I see a -6 here. -6. So how do I undo a -6? What's the opposite of subtracting 6? Adding. So I add 6 to each side. And then what's -6 plus -10 plus 6? -10 plus 6 would be -4 equals 2x. You bring down your 2x. And now we can solve. Just like this looks like a simple one-step equation that we've been doing. So we've undone any addition or subtraction. Now we can undo any multiplication or division happening. And we see a multiplication happening right here. 2 is being multiplied by x. And so to undo that, the opposite of multiplication is to divide. So we divide by 2. Divide by 2. -4 divided by 2. A negative divided by a positive. A negative divided by a positive. A negative divided by a positive is a -2. X equals -2. So let's think about this. -6 plus 2 times a -2 equals hopefully -10. So -6 plus, what's 2 times a -2? A positive times a negative. A positive times a negative. A positive times a negative is a negative. -6 plus -4 is -10. So we got it right. Woohoo! We got it right. Let's try something like, let's try this one. This will be our last one. So how does this problem read? It reads a over 4 minus 5 over 6 equals -1/2. A over 4 minus 5 over 6 equals -1/2. So we want to isolate our variable. Where is our variable? This A. This A is our variable. And what is happening to our variable? Our variable is being divided by 4. 7th graders, these are the steps that I want you to think through in your head. Because your first step you see here, we need to isolate our variable. So the first thing I want you to ask yourself is, okay, where is my variable? A is my variable. What is happening directly next to my variable? It's being divided by 4. Okay, so this whole term we can't do anything with right now. Remember, it's our third step, undo division or multiplication. So now, let's look around our variable. On the same side of the equal sign, around our variable, and what else is happening? We're subtracting 5 over 6. We're subtracting the fraction 5/6. So we need to undo the subtraction. How do you undo subtraction? Addition. Add 5 over 6. Add 5 over 6. Okay, so now we have negative 1/2 plus 5 over 6. I'm going to write this separate so we can see. Fractions. How do we add fractions? Common denominators. So we need to get a common denominator between 2 and 6. Thankfully, this is a simple and easy one. We can times this by 3, times this one by 3, negative 3 over 6 plus 5 over 6. Our common denominator is 6, which we already had on the second fraction. And now, how do we add fractions? We simply add negative 3 plus 5. Negative 3 plus 5 is 2. So we have a over 4 equals 2 over 6. Now, we need to undo any multiplication or division. And I told you a is being divided by 4. So how do we undo division? We multiply. So we're going to multiply by 4. We're going to multiply by 4. Remember, you can make 4 a fraction. You can make a whole number a fraction by adding it over 1. So a is equal to 2 over 6 times 4 over 1. So now, how do we multiply fractions? You just multiply straight across, right? 2 times 4 is 8. 6 times 1 is 6. 8 over 6. Which you can then simplify if you want, and you can have a is equal to 1 and 2/6, which is equal to 1 1/3. But if you stop right here, 7th graders, that's okay too. That's for right now. For right now, I'm telling you that if you can get to right here, that's okay. So, what did we do? We identified our variable. We recognized that it was being divided by 4. So we said, okay, this term we're going to leave alone, and we're going to get this term by itself. We're going to isolate this term, because this is where our variable is. So then we looked around our variable on the same side of our equal sign to see what we needed to do to get it by itself. We recognized that we were subtracting 5/6, so we added, and then we did what we have to do to add fractions. We got common denominators, and then you just add your numerators, keeping your common denominator. We plugged that back in, and then we recognized that we were dividing our variable by 4. Opposite of division is multiplication, so we multiplied by 4 to undo it and to get our variable by itself on its own side of the equal sign. Then we multiplied our fractions. Remember, to multiply fractions, you just multiply straight across the numerator, multiply straight across the denominator, and we simplified our answer. I know that might seem like a lot of work, but congratulations, 7th graders. You're at the point where you get to do things that are a lot of work because you are ready for it and you are prepared for it. So, we're going to take it step by step. Take a deep breath. It's only about 2 steps. It's not that much more work than you've been doing. So, I think you'll be okay. You guys can do this. I believe in you.